All right, it's time for another Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. It's the end of March. The water level is low. It's the lowest we've been all year, and it's been fluctuating a little bit. Last week it jumped up a couple feet with some rain that we had, and then this week it's down again. They've been running a lot of current lately, which has the fish biting. This lake is fixing to bust loose. Been out in the water the last few days, and the fish are really chewing. It's been really fun to get out there, and it's a lot of the same baits that we've been throwing. So these fish are wanting to spawn. This warm weather that we've had the past few days, and just these days getting longer in general. The trees are starting to bloom, so they have spawning on their mind. They're starting to move shallow, and the bite is really good. The past 3 days have been phenomenal. So we've been catching a lot of fish. A lot of numbers of fish, and some big ones as well. The white bass are biting. The crappie fishing is amazing. So I think all the fish in the lake kind of, they feel spring is here, and they're getting ready to hit the bank. I know they've been doing a lot of back and forth all winter. One day they'll kind of move up and are real catchable, and other days they're kind of lethargic, and they've been changing their location, whether they're suspended or on the bottom, channel swing banks, and different area of the lakes have been playing, with the changing water conditions. So everything is kind of changing daily, and the trend is really good. So the fish are really starting to bite, and this lake's showing out. We had a couple really big fish today out there, and it's a lot of the same baits we've been talking about. So we've got super clear water on the lower end of the lake, and then in some of the tributaries, we've got quite a bit of stain. So some of the baits and the color selection will differ a little bit. In the dirtier water, you want something bright, something that has some vibration, like this spinner bait, a chatterbait. Crankbaits are good options. We've got big shallow diving crankbaits. Baits like the crankhead are really, really good. I like this brown craw in general. It's one of my favorites. And a wiggle wart is one of my favorites in that as well. I've been fishing the lower end the last 2 days, and been going with something a little bit more translucent, but they like those bright colors in springtime. So dirtier water, brighter the colors, the more vibration you want. Crankbaits, spinner baits, they'll still eat that jerkbait. They'll probably still eat an Alabama rig and things like that, but you want some vibration. Jigs are a great bait this time of year. Been throwing a lot of the finesse style jigs, something with just a small trailer on it. But in that dirtier water, you can beef it up to something a little bit more like a traditional flipping jig. That's my Trophy Bass Company Pro Jig, and the other one is the Pro Finesse Jig. And just you want something with pretty subtle action this time of year, not a lot of vibration, but those baits will work well in that dirtier water. If you're looking for a little bit more thump, you get some real dirty water, reach for something like that. That's my Trophy Bass Company Ozark Flash frame that I just tied a little Colorado blade on. But that Ozark Flash is a go-getter this time of year. That's my favorite spinner bait of all time, and it works really well. So just get on some shallow coves, get on some of these steeper banks leading into spawning areas, and you should run into the fish. It's just about covering water. With the water being really low, look for some areas that have deep water access, when you're fishing some of that shallow water in the rivers and tributaries and stuff like that. Jerkbait selection in some of that dirtier water, you want to go with something that they can really see. That's been my favorite in the mornings. This is the Tackle HD Fiddlesticks. That's been a good one. This time of year, as the fish get more active, water's warming up, I really like to reach for the bigger fiddlesticks. This is the Magnum, and I've got 3 or 4 of them all strung together here, but it's a bigger bait. I'll get them undone here in a second, but it's just a bigger bait, has really good action, and it catches big ones. It really does. So, clear water, you want something more translucent. That Pro Blue is a really good color. It just a little bit more see-through, a little bit more natural. And then the table rock shad is just a consistent producer. But that Magnum fiddlesticks, I don't know if a lot of guys throw it or not, but I love throwing it. You can throw it a long ways. It casts really good into the wind, and it catches big ones. It just really does. And this is the time of year the fish more active. Water temperature, is getting up there. The fish are eating big bait a lot of times. There's a lot of gizzard shad running around right now. A lot of crappie that they're probably eating, and that's just a really good bait. It'll kind of weed out some of those small ones a little bit, but a jerkbait, the fish are going to eat it, so it catches all sizes. Been catching them a little bit on a single swimmer in that clear water. So we talked a little bit about the dirtier water. You just want some bigger baits, bulkier baits, something with more vibration. But in that clean water, you're going to want that translucent colored jerkbait like we talked about, the Alabama rig, on the cloudier days, you want something with a little bit more flash in that jerkbait, something a little brighter. But single swim bait has been good on those finicky fish. Basically throwing that on 12-pound line, 14-pound line. This is the new Rebel reel from Six Gill, made in the USA, and really good reel. Love it so far. Been using that in the last week. 7-foot medium heavy rod, and just throwing it out there, and really just using my Garmin live scope, try to pinpoint those fish. That's the 3.5-inch swimmer. I don't have my Alabama rig in reach, but Alabama rig has still been good. That's going to continue to produce for the next few weeks. Those fish are out there, they're roaming, they're eating, and the jerkbait, the Alabama rig are a good way to get in front of those fish. So that's been productive as well. Vary your weights and sizes on the Alabama rig. As far as the size of the heads and the swim baits go. Some days they want a bigger one, some days they want a little bit smaller swim bait. The shallower the water, the lighter the heads, like 1/8 ounce heads for that shallow water. And then if you're combing a little bit deeper water, you probably want to up it to 3/16 or even 1/4 ounce weights. So just kind of vary your weight depending on where the fish are at. So Alabama rig, jerkbait, the single swim bait on the lower end, and of course the jig. So you can throw my Trophy Bass Company Pro Jig or a football jig in like a 5/8 or 1/2 ounce size, if you're fishing out a little bit deeper. And if you're fishing more on the bank, behind boat docks, up a little bit shallower on some of these small channel banks, shallow channel banks, that little Pro Finesse jig really gets it done. I like just, green pumpkin or some kind of brown color. PBJ is always good, but it's real clear water, so you want something natural, fishing on the lower half of the lake there. So, basically locations of these fish, they're wanting to spawn. Water temperature this week, when I got out there earlier in the week, it was mid 40s, 46. I saw a lot of places. And then today, towards, I got off the water about noon, and the water temperature was about 50 degrees. So I know that's only surface temp, but it's warming up. The lake really wants to warm up with these longer days. So when we get a little bit of sunshine, it kind of activates the fish. A lot of shad, so look for shad. That'll help you kind of locate where the bass are at, but a lot of shad activity. I've seen a lot of crappie getting high up in the water column. You can catch the crappies on a slip bobber right now. Secondary points, real shallow, around really super shallow brush. They're getting underneath boat docks. As always, they're always underneath those boat docks. So, we're shooting the jig up underneath there and catching those fish. But the crappie are moving shallow. These white bass are starting to move shallow, and so are the bass. They're all kind of just staging out there, ready to make a move. So the fishing's good. They're eating up before the spawn, and it should continue to be really good the next few weeks as they're kind of in that pre-spawn feeding mode, and slowly these fish will start sliding up there and get behind the docks. And there's probably a lot of them there right now. You can flip that bite's going to be really picking up, the dock bite. A lot of these fish have been just kind of out there, and now they're going to start moving up next to the cover, trying to seek out these shallow docks and pockets and warm up a little bit, get behind them, throw that jig back there, throw soft plastic worms, things like that on a shaky head and catch a lot of fish. You could do that right now for sure and catch them. So just haven't had a lot of time to get out there and do much. So been just throwing kind of the baits that we talked about. But as the water warms up, that spinner bait is going to be red hot. Chatterbait, things like that. The river arms are a little bit warmer right now, so that bite's already happening up there. But throughout the lake, throughout the main lake, that bite's going to get really good. We're supposed to get a little bit of weather tomorrow, so and it's springtime, so you never know what that's going to do. But look for the water conditions to change. Look for the fish locations to change. So just keep an eye on that and just keep focused on that. They want to get up there. They want to move shallow, and so they're headed that way. So fishing's going to be super fun for the next couple weeks. I'm excited to get back out there and try it. But bass fishing, crappie fishing, lights out. White bass are going to start running here and really biting as they move towards the spawn. But good time to get to Lake of the Ozarks. So good luck out there until our next report. And, hopefully you guys get out there and catch a bunch of fish this weekend.